How are you?
It's been a while, friend.
Yeah, 2 years.
2 years. Is that how long it's been?
Yeah,
Man, it's crazy how life has changed in 2 short years. It's only been 2 years?
2 years.
Wow. Crazy.
2 years, mate. If I they probably thought it was me who'd been in and out of prison, mate, but it's yourself.
First time for everything. I mean, that was an experience. Certainly interesting. I've only ever been arrested once before in my life. And then the second time I was arrested, I had to do a nice long stint in a Romanian jail cell. So that was certainly an interesting experience. But all you can do is learn from it and move forward, right? So
Yeah, it's no secret. Listen, I've had your back from day one.
Yep.
I've still got your back now.
Yep.
A lot of people would have turned their back, and yeah, you can kind of understand that. A lot of people are fearful.
Yep.
When I first met you, what annoys me is when I first met you, before the podcast, you had said to me, do you want to have some fun? I didn't really know what you meant, and you did. You had some fun. A lot of your stuff as comedy, and it annoys me when people cut up the clips, show those clips as something that you're meaning. You
Yep.
genuinely did not mean a lot of the shit you say. I've been in your company many times now. You're so kind to everybody, and this is what I always state. You're polite, you're kind, and you're generous.
Thank you.
Always checking in, is everything okay?
Yep.
For me, you don't get that now. But do you see how your stuff was all took out of context, though?
Yeah, well, comedy's not allowed anymore, is it? Right? So comedy's not allowed, and sarcasm's not allowed, and you're not allowed to say anything that could possibly be misconstrued as something that it doesn't mean. Like, the world we're living in is just insane. And it's crazy because they truly assume people are more stupid than they are. I think most people are very well versed to understand when somebody's making a joke and when something is sarcastic and when something's taken out of context. And like, especially, you know what I feel like? I think it's like the English in me, because I'm half English, especially the English. That's all we do is take the piss. That's all we do is like say things and exaggerate things and make fun of each other. Americans are all like, oh my God, what did you just say? It's like, that's just our culture. It's how we are. I'm not saying I didn't mean a lot of the things I said, but it's certainly difficult now to live in the world I live in and that we live in, where absolutely everything can be used against you all of the time. It's kind of scary.
Did you ever realise how big you would have got, the most good man on the planet, worldwide news yesterday? Did you ever see that vision?
No. I mean, I knew I'd be big and I knew I had a message. I knew that people would pay attention to it. But the idea that I'd become the most famous man in the world, I didn't see. But I think the reason that's happened is because I've become an anti-hero. But to be a hero, you need to have an enemy. And my enemies have made themselves so visible. And I've also called for a very long time the moves my enemies were going to make. And they continue to prove me right. And when they prove me right, they prove their existence, right? If I sit there and say, the Matrix is after me and the Matrix is going to do this, and then it happens, well, then they prove their existence. So I am now in the middle of a battle, and battles are certainly entertaining. They've always been entertaining. And I'm not just an influencer. I'm a guy who's engrossed in a battle. And I think a lot of people find affinity in my message and understand that me fighting this war is in many ways fighting for all the men on earth. It could happen to anybody. So they've made me bigger and bigger. And it's kind of like the attempt to shrink me and destroy me has done the absolute opposite. And here I am.
What is the Matrix to you?
It's actually interesting because I get asked that question all the time. But there's certainly a cabal of people who have mass influence over the world who are not people we elect or know their names. I would never kill myself. I'll start by saying that. And I don't have a direct beef with these people. That's what's actually interesting. If you're a billionaire or you're an extremely important person from an extremely important family and you're born into this degree of power and wealth, you're going to wield it and you're going to use it. That's human nature, right? You can't expect somebody to have that kind of influence and not use it. Totally respect and understand that. But then I've become massively influential and they see my influence as a counter to their narratives. So, as it's always been since the dawn of human time, when you have a counter narrative or a counter influence, you aim to destroy it. It's always been that way, right? The English and the Scottish, it's counter narratives and you go to war. So I have a narrative which is countering their narratives that they control, and they feel like that I need to be punished for that. And they're massively influential and powerful. And now I find myself in the position I'm in with a Matrix attack. And unfortunately, the law is so complicated in most countries on earth for a reason, right? They don't make the law like the 10 Commandments. Don't steal, don't kill. They don't make it simple. They make it extremely complicated and subjective and difficult to understand, and you need lawyers and all this. And the main reason for that is, one, so that certain people can get away with certain things, depending on what kind of lawyer you have. And two, so that it's subjective enough that it can be used as a weapon. The law can be weaponized. I would argue, even though you're probably one of the nicest men I've ever met, If they were to take the entire book of law and look at it and get legal experts in an attempt to hit you with crimes, they'll find crimes. This could be maybe, that could be maybe, this and his friend, that's a criminal group, and it's all subjective, and they just attack you. It's a weapon. It's a weapon that they use. The judicial system, unfortunately, is a weapon that is used to hurt people when they get to a certain level of influence. And I'm not the only one who's been through it. I knew it was coming. And now I'm fighting for my life. It's quite an interesting scenario.
Yeah, it's a crazy scenario. For 2 years ago, you're relatively unknown, 200,000 followers on Instagram, private planes, girls. Listen, the flash life, people bought into it. A year later, you had 6-7 million followers. Yeah. We look at Conor McGregor now, we look at Neymar, we look at Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Listen, I've been on the front page, call me a woman beater, a thug. A woman says I beat her up at McDonald's. Luckily, I had the CCTV to prove my innocence. There was no charges. There was no fine, nothing, but the paper still went with thug.
Yep.
Lost family members to murder. They'll put my name to question to try and tarnish the name.
Yep.
I'm only a man who's changed his life and trying to do better.
Yep.
To interview people, to tell things from their story, without getting things getting twisted, without all the bullshit of the day. See, when you started, when did you realise how big you were getting? From 2 years ago, like I said, 200,000 followers to then, what was that moment you
know
thought?
What's interesting? What's interesting is I can tell you that me and my brother had a conversation when I was in Dubai about 2 weeks before I was arrested. I was sitting there with Tristan. We'd just been canceled, right? They deleted all our social medias, deleted all our bank accounts, deleted our Uber account, our Airbnb account, our Facebook, our Gmail. They delete you from everything at once in an attempt to unperson you, and that didn't work. We weren't unpersoned. They made heroes of us, and we became more famous than before. And I was sitting with Tristan in Dubai, and we're in this beautiful $40 million mansion, and we have a Bugatti outside and a McLaren outside, and business is going well. And Tristan turns up, he comes in the house, and there's like 5 beautiful girls, and he's like, oh yeah, just bring some chicks in, whatever. And the waiters are bringing us drinks, and we're smoking shisha and $500 cigars. And I'm sitting there, and I said, Tristan, everything's perfect. And he goes, yeah, I know. I said, we're fucked. We're fucked. He goes, why? What do you mean? I was like, there's no way. Life doesn't go this way, Tristan. I'm 36, right? There's no way at 36 I could have just made it and it's fine. Something's going to come. He's like, we'll be careful. None of us are going to die. We'll always roll as a team, all this stuff. We'll up the security and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah. I just had this feeling. I just knew. Week later, I'm in a Romanian jail surrounded by cockroaches. So it's like, it's kind of like the balance and the yin and yang of life. I've always understood that whether it's God or the universe or whatever, it doesn't allow you to just climb. Whatever goes up must come down to a degree. And I knew that some kind of attack was coming. I didn't expect to get hit with this. Human trafficking is insane. It's an insane charge. I expected something else. But now that I've analyzed it and I've been through it, I understand they're trying to slander my name. You can't slander my name with a fucking tax charge. Nobody cares. They're trying to slander my name and make out that I'm a heinous, dangerous, bad person because they've been trying to do that with the media for the last year. So that's what they're trying to do. And I find massive reassurance in the fact that nobody believes them. It kind of scares me that nobody believes them because now it makes me wonder what they're going to try next. But also, it is nice when you're called a human trafficker by the Matrix to wake up and see 10,000 comments of everyone saying bollocks. It is nice to see that people don't believe it because I would hate for people to actually believe that about me. And basically nobody does. In fact, I struggle to find anybody who does. If you actually look online underneath all these stupid headlines, nobody believes any of it because everybody understands. And yeah, we've grown monumentally big, and now I feel like I have a huge responsibility, and my responsibility is to tell the truth and be a good person and make sure I say things in a way that they can't be misconstrued. But also now in this particular battle I'm in, I feel like I'm fighting for the rights of every single man on earth because what they're doing to me has happened to loads of, like you said, famous, influential men. And even worse, not famous, not influential men. How many men are getting wrecked with this garbage that you never heard of? Who knows? I don't know. Do you know? How many?
I had Tommy Robinson on with a man called Mo Rami. He was done for human trafficking and tried to traffic this girl. The girl made it all up. Every single bit of it. She got 12 years just a couple of months ago. 12 years. She got and she ruined this man's life. This man's son nearly committed suicide because his dad was getting called a sex case. Wow. So it does happen. There was a video just released 2 weeks ago. A girl was accusing her boyfriend of beating her up, but there was a video of her hitting herself with hammers. Listen, the majority of the crimes come from men. We get it, but there is some devious people out there. The Johnny Depp case is prime example. But that guy lost contracts of hundreds of millions for Pirates of the Caribbean, because the accusations that were made. The accusations are just accusations. Charges are just charges. It is innocent till proven guilty.
What if I were to tell you one of the American girls who started all this garbage has accused 7 other men of human trafficking? 7. How many times can one person be human trafficked? Do you understand where I'm coming from? And you're just telling me about the prison time that people who lie are serving. That makes me feel good inside of my heart, because I believe that the moral arc of the universe bends towards justice. It may take time, but in the end, people who lie will pay the price. I believe that. I believe in truth. And I'm very patient. And I know that justice will be done. But yeah, it's absolutely insane. And it's insane because, yeah, this is happening to me and the whole world knows about it. But how many men lose custody of their children because they're falsely accused of heinous things? Beating the woman or molesting the kids or whatever, right? It's crazy. And yeah, women need protecting. We all agree on that. But I feel like it's a constant balance. The pendulum's constantly swinging, and we're trying to find the medium in which women are safe to go to the police and make genuine complaints, and that men must pay the price. But also it doesn't go too far and men can't live a life. And I feel like it's swung too far one way. And the bad thing about that is that in life, whenever you have a pendulum that swings too far one way, guess what happens? It swings too far back the other way. People are getting pissed off with this shit. Constant, never-ending lies about men being rapists. Eventually, it's going to swing back to the point where a woman who's genuinely hurt is going to go to the police and they're not going to care. And that's terrible. That's disgusting in and of itself. But then whose fault is that? That's the fault of all the women who keep lying. So we're in this situation. We're trying to find this happy medium. And it's insanity. And there's absolutely no doubt in my mind, if I wasn't world famous, I wouldn't be going through any of this garbage. But that's also the way it works. Because we talk about the Matrix and how important people are in charge of the world. You can also look at the world in a far less interesting, more benign way. And I'll give you an example of that. You're a prosecutor. You have a job for the government. You're not particularly well paid. You do a job. And this guy stole a Mars bar. Okay, do the paperwork. This guy stole a Mars bar. This guy stole a car. This guy stole a car. Who? Oh, don't know. Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate! Do you understand? There's a degree of, wow. Prosecutors, they get hard on for a famous rich guy. It doesn't even have to be from the tip top matrix. It can just be a prosecutor with a hard on because you're famous and you're rich. And it's interesting. So this entire battle, there's so much I cannot say as I was learning why this happened to me and why certain organizations and countries haven't saved me when they should have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, they say more money, more problems. To a degree, I guess that's true. But I think all men should be allowed to live in relative safety and live a life which is normal. The things they've accused me of, the human trafficking, which is obviously insane. But look what the BBC printed about me. The BBC said that 13 years ago, I was emotionally controlling to an anonymous girl. Let's analyze this as professionals. You're a man, I'm a man. All the men watching. If this person exists, which they don't, if this person is not imaginary, 13 years ago, I was emotionally controlling. What does that mean? Does that mean I said, no, I won't buy you a handbag? Does that mean I said, no, you can't go drinking with those guys in the club? Does that mean I said, no, you should have been nice to me on my birthday? What did I do? Don't know. Who is she? Don't know. And they're putting it all over the news and calling me a sex criminal? How do I defend myself against such abstract bullshit? It's garbage, but they'll do it to absolutely anybody. They could say the same shit to you or any other man watching this. They could say 10 years ago, you were emotionally controlling to an anonymous female. You are the enemy of the state.
I used to tell girls I played for Man United.
Take him to jail! Take him to jail!
That's not a crime, though.
Bro, but that's the thing that's crazy, right? So even with this garbage they're hitting me with, human trafficking. So they come along and they said, oh, you're a human trafficker. I said, well, I've never transported anyone. I've never kidnapped anyone. I've never restricted anyone. I've never held anyone. They said, no, but you're a human trafficker via the lover boy method. I said, what's that? It's where you pretend to love them. So what, being nice? So I was nice to some girls 10 years ago? Is that my crime? Maybe I did love them. But we're not together anymore, so what? I pretended? Who said I pretended? Prove I pretended to love. And then what did I pretend to love them to achieve? The case against me is that I pretended to love girls to make them do TikTok for money. Please listen to this. That's the case against me. I pretended to love girls to convince them to do TikTok to give me the money. The girls themselves have said that's not true, but they throw away their statements and keep them as victims in the file. That's how insane this is. And they're saying you convince them to do TikTok by pretending you love them. And the reason all this garbage has come up is basically because they chose some girls I know who have TikTok on their phone. And here I am, human trafficker. The level of insanity is crazy. And there's so much more I could say, but unfortunately I'm in Romania and I have to go to court in Romania and I have to respect the Romanian judicial system. And I have enough faith that the judge is going to look at this and say, well, this is crazy. This is not human trafficking. But yeah, you get so big and they come for you and they come to attack you. So it's scary. And if they're going to do what they've done to me purely because I know girls with TikTok, I'm sure you know a couple girls with TikTok. I'm sure you guys at home know a couple girls with TikTok. Watch out. It's Clown World.